The Galaxy S23 Ultra has already impressed us in how it performed against the iPhone in both our speed test and in our drop test. But the thing is, win or lose in those two tests, the Galaxy has been coming close for a number of years now. But one area where it hasn't been coming close, and one area where the iPhone has just been flat out dominating, is the battery test, where ever since the iPhone 11 Pro, Apple has been sitting pretty at the top of our rankings. But this year with the Galaxy S23 Ultra, things might actually be different. Not only does it have a new and more efficient display, but it also has that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip, which is obviously going to be more power efficient. But what I think is more important to note this year is, unlike in the past, Samsung is only using the Qualcomm chip across the board. So no Exynos this year and no wasted engineering resources, with all of Samsung's optimization power focused solely on this single device. Will that be enough for the Galaxy to finally compete, or will the iPhone remain a step above? Alright, we'll kick things off in the phone test, where each phone is going on the same 1-hour phone call in our lab, where 60 minutes into it, while the iPhone ends up doing better, dropping down to just 98, the Galaxy does pretty well itself, falling just a single percentage point behind at 97, which actually is the best result we've ever gotten from a Samsung phone in that phone test. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the Galaxy holds up here in messaging, since sometimes manufacturers can overrepresent on their battery percentages early on. I mean, Apple certainly does it, and it could just be that Samsung changed how they estimate their battery percentages as well. But after 60 minutes of texting, that doesn't seem to be the case, with the Galaxy actually doing 8 percentage points better than the iPhone this time, tying things up at 92. So a really good start for the Galaxy against the reigning champ. The S22 Ultra was already 5 points behind at this point, but even after an hour of email, the S23 Ultra still remains neck and neck with the iPhone, with both phones at 87 heading into the browser test. Now, this browser test is one where historically, the iPhone and its A-series chips has been more efficient than the competition, with this task being probably the most processor intensive one that we've done so far, with each phone having to load not just the same set of websites, but also scrolling through them, where after 60 minutes of doing so, the Galaxy continues going toe-to-toe with the champ, with both phones again performing identically. Now, I knew that the S23 Ultra would have some improvements in battery life this year, but I really wasn't expecting it to do this well, with it matching the iPhone once again after an hour of scrolling through Instagram. But as they say, all good things must come to an end, with us heading into the 16-hour standby test, where the iPhone has always been known for just sipping on power, but after 16 hours, surprisingly, the Galaxy doesn't just keep up with the iPhone, it does significantly better, dropping by just 5 points compared to the iPhone's 8-point drop. Meaning, as we work on YouTube, the Galaxy is 3 points ahead of the reigning champ. But one thing worth noting here is, while the screens and the speakers on both phones have been calibrated to the same level, one thing I've noticed about Galaxy phones is, because their earpieces are super thin and not really well vented, the phones seem to have to pump that speaker higher in order to match the same level of perceived volume, which after 1 hour could be why the iPhone was able to cut down on its lead, with the iPhone doing 2 points better in that YouTube test. And things might actually get worse for the Galaxy here in the gaming test, where not only do we have those speakers going, but this is the test where Galaxy phones have typically fallen apart, with last year's Galaxy S22 Ultra suffering a 17-point drop. 60 minutes into it though, wow, the S23 Ultra surprises us once again, not only doing 2 times better than last year's Galaxy, dropping by just 8 points, but it does 2 points better than the iPhone, taking its lead right back up to 3 points as we work on the maps test. Now in this test, we're simulating navigation, so we have the GPS sensor turned on and we're getting active traffic information on each phone as we scroll through the map, where again, after an hour, both phones perform identically, with them each dropping by 7 points. Now, if the iPhone's earpiece speaker is actually more efficient, as I was speculating on earlier, we should see it have an advantage here in Spotify. And after an hour, that's pretty much what we see, with the iPhone doing 2 points better just like it did in YouTube. So as we move on to Snapchat here, this is a really close battery test, and 16 minutes into it, we're actually all tied up at 27%. But the reason we're stopping at 16 minutes here for a second is this is actually the point where last year year's Galaxy S22 Ultra died. So for the S23 Ultra to have 27% here is just a giant leap forward, allowing it and the iPhone to go another 44 minutes to finish up with Snapchat with 15% battery still left to go, meaning the Galaxy S23 Ultra is the first Samsung phone that has made it this far to the app cycle test, at least with normal settings, where we're opening up the same set of apps and then closing them and then repeating the process in a loop until these phones die. So a super processor intensive task where that 15% on the Galaxy depletes way faster than the iPhone's battery, with it going for 1 hour and 6 minutes before giving out, while the iPhone is still reporting 6%. So there you have it. The iPhone beats the Galaxy by 6 percentage points and remains the champ. But man, this was a close one. And honestly, if you go with either of these phones, battery life is just not going to be an issue for you. In case you're wondering, the iPhone 6% was able to go for another 38 minutes in app cycle before it died, bringing the iPhone's total time to an impressive 27 hours and 44 minutes compared to the Galaxy's last but still impressive 27 hours and 6 minutes. But anyways, that is it for me in this video. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the very next episode.